Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992. This is the final film of my October Dracula review fest. But is it the final word on Dracula movies? Watch to find out. Theme song.
Kyle's Reviews! Kyle's Reviews!
If you want to watch Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, check the links in the description below. So I read Dracula a long time ago, and I don't remember much about it, except that it's an epistolatory novel. So I thought it'd be a good idea to watch Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula and review it. Now, I saw this movie when it came out. I was in college, and a bunch of us went, and I remember not liking it. And I rewatched it, and I kind of gained more of an appreciation for it. The reason why, I think, is that I finally realized this film's a comedy. I mean, it has to be, right? This film is so over the top. It's so ridiculous. There's no way they meant this to be taken seriously, is there? It's so goofy. It only makes sense if it is supposed to be some kind of comedy. So, for example, right from the start, we have Dracula. We learn he's Vlad the Impaler, and he's got this crazy armor that's made of like leather or something. Like, what is that? And then, of course, when we see him in the, the more recent era where the film is set, there's that crazy hair.
Welcome to my home.
How are we supposed to take that seriously? Then he has this long train, and it's like, how does that even work? And so, if we take this movie seriously, it doesn't make sense. Take Renfield, for example. He's in an asylum, but he's got these things on his hand. Looks like he belongs in the future from 12 Monkeys or something. And then they put him in like this thing.
Master, you promised me eternal life, but you give it to the pretty woman. Dr. Jack! I'm no lunatic, man. I'm a sane man fighting for his soul.
Like, who did the costuming? It reminds me of Baron Harkonnen from David Lynch's Dune. In Dracula's castle. It's an old castle, but it has all these steel things coming out of it. It's like some steampunk thing. Then there's also a scene where Keanu Reeves is looking out the window, and he's like, there's wolves out there, and Dracula does this thing about how great wolves are. And then Keanu turns around and sees Dracula leaving, turns back, and sees Dracula climbing along the wall. It's like, it is... How does that make any sense? Is he not... Why? Why? And then once Dracula gets to the UK, there's a point he cries blood. I don't know. And then there's like... I noticed that the only woman with any substantial more than one line in the entire movie that doesn't show her boobs is Winona Ryder. There's just random scenes where like Lucy is writhing in bed with her boob hanging out. Then we have Anthony Hopkins, who's just doing this over-the-top performance.
Was she in great pain?
Yeah, she was in great pain. Then we cut off her head and drove a stake to her heart and burned it, and then she found peace.
Doctor!
And it's just crazy. Now, the film does do some interesting things. It does the clear, establish the connection that Vlad the Impaler is Dracula. I think it brings up the idea that Mina is the reincarnation of his dead wife. Although I will say, it's stupid. Dracula's wife dies and he curses God.
The vengeful Turks shot an arrow into the castle, carrying false news of Dracula's death. Elisabetta, believing him dead, flung herself into the river.
It's like, what? Why? That you should be mad at her for dying. It also has retractable fangs, which I hadn't really seen before this. Even if you go into it thinking it's supposed to be like so bad it's good, the film's really long. After a while, I got kind of bored. I'm like, is this thing still going on? There's so much back and forth. Keanu Reeves' character, he is stuck in Transylvania. He escapes, but he's still in Transylvania. Then instead of going back to London, he sends a letter. Mina, come marry me. So they come back, they go to Transylvania. Then they go back to London. Then they go back to Transylvania. Why? It's so unnecessary. I'm going to give Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula 2 thumbs down. This is so goofy. I don't get what this thing is. More like, meh, BS. That's right, I'm bringing back Morbius jokes.